President Trump, if you see this, please save us. I don't even see our American flag anymore. Biden's talking with some kind of crazy flag. This is America. This is our land. Please, President Trump. Please, I hope you have a plan.
I believe we are starting to witness the beginning of the end of the MAGA order. Republicans are increasingly unpopular. After Tuesday's election, they saw voters swing dramatically back to the left. And increasingly, Republicans are starting to break with Donald Trump. And we're seeing this most recently in the form of Marjorie Taylor Greene. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether for self-promoting reasons or genuine reasons, are acting as if they're having a change of heart. That doesn't happen just coincidentally. There is a reason behind that. It's because right now, I think Republicans are realizing they're in the same moment that Democrats were in 2024, in a very similar way, where voters told us two things. They said the president's too old, and then we said, no, he's not. And then they told us prices are too high, and we said, no, they aren't. Look at the stock market.
I don't understand why
So here's the thing about plugging your ears when people are screaming about real problems. Voters were literally begging for help with groceries and healthcare, actual kitchen table issues that affect whether kids eat or not. And the response was basically, trust the vibes, bro. That's not leadership. That's a confidence scam, and now everyone's acting shocked that people swung hard in the opposite direction. Maybe if you spent less time performing for social media and more time actually listening to what regular folks are dealing with day to day, you wouldn't be watching your support collapse like a house of cards. It's almost like people care more about feeding their families than your culture war talking points. Wild concept, I know.
Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody.
There's a major shift here for Democrats to seize. And for us, the question needs to be, are we going to actually offer voters something better? Are we going to build a Democratic Party that doesn't take money from special interests? Are we going to build a Democratic Party that stands up to corporations instead of taking money from them? Are we going to build a Democratic Party that actually fights for the working class instead of just saying that we're going to? The final nail in the coffin of this MAGA order is offering voters something genuinely better. The only way that we're going to do that is bringing in a new generation that are not controlled by special interests. That's why we do this work at Leaders We Deserve, and why I'm so proud to continue it. If you're excited to join that movement and build a better Democratic Party, sign up at leaderswedeserve.com. We help young people under the age of 40 run for Congress, and young people under the age of 35 run for state legislatures around the country. Join this movement. Sign up at leaderswedeserve.com.
No, because I will cut ties with family or friends that are Trump supporters. Because there's absolutely no policy in this world that would allow me to support a man with 26 SA cases held liable for one, including a case of a little girl. You see, I can respect different political views. I can respect difference in policy. I can respect Republican presidents or the Republican Party, but that man does not embody any Republican values, conservative values. And if you come and sit here and try to tell me that is for the economy, baby, that means that your values can be bought and mine cannot. And y'all are very misinformed. So before you try to come back and forth with me and tell me that everyone has a right to vote and that everyone has a right to a difference in political parties, this is never, has never, and will never be about political parties. And the fact that so many people choose to turn a blind eye, I mean, the SA cases does it for me. There's so much more things wrong with this man, but...
Listen, she's hitting on something critical here about values not being for sale, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. When you're defending someone with that many documented allegations and calling it just a difference in economic policy, you're lying to yourself and everyone around you. This isn't about conservative versus liberal tax rates anymore. This is about what you're willing to overlook to stay loyal to your team, and that's where it gets dark, because these guys turned politics into their identity, their sports team, their religion, all rolled into one. They'll defend literally anything, as long as it's wearing the right colors, no principles, just blind tribalism. And the scary part is, they don't even realize they're doing it. They genuinely believe they're the rational ones, while everyone else is crazy. That level of self-deception is dangerous.
It's crazy.
A lot of white Americans have nothing going for them. They have no culture, no identity, and no purpose driving them. Just watch this video to prove it.
The more you'll find out.
This is an example of a type of product that is marketed to people in MAGA, drinking liberal tears to energize them. And it's just objectively very strange and cult-like. I mean, it reminds me of Catholicism when you're supposed to literally drink the body and blood of Christ at church. But it also shows how they have literally nothing better to do with their lives than make MAGA their personality. Outside of this channel and my belief in human rights, my life has nothing to do with politics. I have hobbies. I go dancing. I box. I go play soccer. I hang out with friends. I read. I run. It just, my life is not being a leftist. In my opinion, until the left can either A, recreate that sort of culture, or B, dismantle MAGA's culture, we aren't going to win elections, because how do we compete with a literal identity that MAGA has manufactured? For anybody who's a social reject, now they have a place that accepts them. Like, we can't replicate that. And fundamentally, it just shows how sad these people's lives are, because all they have to talk about is being MAGA.
Do we need to be a little kinder to Carter Brown?
The question I had for people wasn't whether or not their anger or their frustration was justified. The question was just like, is it a good move strategically? That was it.
If they are leaving MAGA, it must be for the intrinsic value of leaving MAGA. What they are separating themselves from is so dark and has harmed, really critically harmed so many people, that they should understand the outrage and anger implicitly. And if there is any amount of righteous indignation, anger, and criticism coming from the left that could cause them to head back right, good. What's done is done. As I've said before, jumping ship right now as a 3-time Trump voter is essentially a Nazi deciding a couple weeks before D-Day that they've had enough. This is no longer about strategy. The harm has been done. And at this point, I don't know that there's...
The Nazi comparison is brutal, but here's why it lands. You don't get to ride the chaos train for 3 elections and then hop off at the last stop expecting a hero's welcome for finally reading the room. Where was this critical thinking 2 years ago? Where was this moral clarity during the first term? These dudes were out here with the whole starter pack, flags on their trucks, hats at the gym, making it their entire personality. Now they want to quietly distance themselves because the polling looks bad and their kids won't talk to them anymore. That's not growth, that's damage control. Real change comes from reflection and accountability, not from jumping ship when it's politically convenient, if you're only changing your position because you're losing. Not because you genuinely realized you were wrong. That's just strategy, not evolution.
Any amount of voter suppression that the Trump administration could try to enact, that would stop the Republicans from losing the majority in both chambers. And I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding this, but I believe you're an Englishman that lives in England. There is no we. From what we've seen of the special elections thus far, the people are done. And most of them aren't on TikTok. Most of them aren't trying to grow platforms. And they have not put themselves in the position to have the entire internet tell them, I don't forgive you, go fuck yourself. Which is, as you stated, a very valid position. But is it strategic? We're past strategy in that sense.
Let's get one thing straight. Cutting off relatives because of their views on politics, 100% warranted. You feel attacked by what I am saying. You are probably the problem. If you look around and you see nothing wrong with what's going on, you are part of the problem. If you think what Mango Mussolini is doing is great, you are part of the fucking problem. Family isn't always blood related. It's all about the people you surround yourself with. There is nothing wrong with cutting off family if they voted against your existence or your well-being. If you feel attacked, suck it up, Buttercup. You're the problem.
This is heartbreaking to say. It's tough. Trump and their team have essentially ended all aggressive border patrol and interior border extraction of illegal aliens in this country. They're now bringing in people from the Biden administration and putting a halt to the methods that were voted for by Trump supporters to deport the illegal aliens sitting in this country. What you saw over the past year is gone. You will now see more and more illegals coming across the border. This is not what we voted.
Yo, this right here is what happens when you build your entire worldview around one issue and then get betrayed on that exact issue. Homie's having a full existential crisis because the policies he voted for 3 times just got reversed by the same people he supported. And now he's lost, confused, making sad videos about how this isn't what he signed up for. Brother, this is exactly what you signed up for. You just didn't read the contract. You got sold a fantasy by people who say, whatever gets them power, then do whatever benefits them. Personally, and the wildest part is this dude will probably still defend the movement, even while admitting it failed him. That's the power of the cult. Even when you know you got played, you can't admit it out loud because your whole identity is wrapped up in being right about this one thing.
Before, this is not what MAGA stood for. Thank you.
You don't need to tell us that you cut your parents off because of politics. We know. We see what you look like. There is something that takes people over when they talk about cutting their family off, where you can see them writhing in ecstasy as they talk about the beginning of the dissolution of their family. Like, it's not enough that they've taken this personal step. They've made this decision that they've come to for one reason or another. They need to make sure that everybody knows. But it's what those reasons are that frustrate me the most. Because one is just they want the public accolades. They want the recognition from their peers. Wow, this is a good ally. This is a strong ally. They do what must be done. But 2 is that they just want that eyes glazed over, roll into their back of the head pleasure as they just experience that faux moral superiority. I did it. I have cut off the enemy. Look. Here's a really easy way to think about this, okay? Subpar Lifting Memes had a post where he goes, new fitness challenge, do something hard and don't tell anyone about it. I'm going to give you a harder challenge. If you ever decide to cut somebody off that you are directly connected to through blood, give it 2 weeks before you tell anyone. Sit with that decision in silence by yourself, because there's absolutely a good reason to do this. Don't misunderstand me. But I think at least 80% of you are doing it because you want the recognition from your peers. And I think that once you sit in that, in silence, and you realize none of these people really care about you, none of these people are going to help you with your bills, none of these people would be with you when you were really down and out, that's when you'll finally have that moment to go, would I do this if I couldn't post this on social media? And I think for most of you, that answer would be no. I almost forgot to give you guys a kiss. Okay, love you, bye.
All right, cut it out. You're going to make it mad.
What I just watched is the definition of performative everything. Cutting off family is a legitimate choice sometimes, but if your first instinct after making that decision is to grab your ring light and film a TikTok about it, you're not doing it for your mental health. You're doing it for clout. The real test is simple. Would you still do this if you couldn't post about it? If nobody would ever know? If you got 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 validation from internet strangers? Because if the answer is no, then you're not standing on principle. You're performing morality for an audience. And both sides do this constantly. One side posts their fuck your feelings bumper stickers. The other side posts their I cut off my racist uncle testimonials. Everyone's so addicted to broadcasting their political identity, they forgot how to just be human beings who make choices and live with them quietly.
I don't give a fuck, Keisha.
We made the decision to move out of the country when Trump was reelected for a second term. Neither of us or my daughter felt safe living in the U.S. during a second Trump administration.
Trump es una síntoma de eso y es simplemente el más monstruoso de una línea larga de hombres que han usado el miedo contra los negros, contra los latinos, contra los inmigrantes, contra los gays.
Donald Trump will not live forever, but the consequences of this regime are going to last many, many years. Some of the damage is generational.
En lo que veo día a día en Barcelona, que hay un respeto para el individuo y eso es para el beneficio de la comunidad. En los Estados Unidos veo yo, por experiencia personal, que eso se va como poco a poco, se va desintegrando.
Trump is not the problem. Trump is a symptom of a much deeper cancer. What is in the culture that allows for this rise of fascism? And if the country is not willing to deal with that, it's not a safe place for us to live.
Do you think your Republican colleagues are cognizant of that? Are they aware of that possibility? Are they privately in your conversations with you? Are they upset by this campaign of retribution, or are they cheering it on like they're doing in public?
Well, there are a handful who are still upset, but remember, there's a regime of fear that has come down on the Republican Party. They've looked at what's happened to Liz Cheney, to Adam Kinzinger, to Mitt Romney, to others who have taken on the president. I mean, they insist upon absolute 100% loyalty above everything else. And they can break, but they can't bend. So basically, you can break with Trump, and then you're off on your own, and they will attack you, or you follow orders. And unfortunately, that's what's going on with far too many of them. I think the positive example we're seeing right now is those members like Mr. Massey, like Nancy Mace, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Lauren Boebert, who are willing to break from that cultish orthodoxy when it comes to the Epstein files, because that, after all, is a 180-degree U-turn performed by Donald Trump when they found out what's in the Epstein files. But good for them that they're hanging tough with us in a bipartisan consensus. But that is the reason that they're not swearing in Adelita Grajova right now, because she provides the 218th signature on the discharge petition that will allow us to vote on that. And that is a matter of justice, too, because we're talking about an international criminal charge.
Now, this is where the loyalty cult really shows its cracks, and this is what separates people with actual principles from people just playing team sports. You got some representatives finally breaking ranks over the Epstein files, demanding transparency on something that should be a no-brainer if you actually care about protecting kids. And watch how many people who scream about saving the children suddenly get real quiet real fast. Suddenly it's all about optics and timing and not rushing to judgment. The same people who had no problem making wild accusations about pizza parlors are now urging caution and patience when it comes to actual documented evidence. That tells you everything. They don't actually care about the issue. They care about winning, and when your own side is implicated in the thing you claim to oppose, you either stand on your principles or you reveal you never had any. We're watching that choice play out in real time, and most are failing the test.
Child sex ring that was worth more than $1.5 billion, and the Republicans now are doing everything they can to cover it up.
So I'm super liberal, but sometimes I think that my stork might have been a little tipsy or drunk during the drop-off process. The 80s were a wild time. Because how did I end up with a Trump supporter, a libertarian, a moderate Democrat, and I'm like far, far left? I feel so out of place at times. But to say that I've developed a lot of strategies around making sure our family dynamic does not fully implode when we're together would be an understatement. I also went on to work in corporate America. I just spent 2 years in Oklahoma stewarding and teaching how to have difficult and candid conversations around really tough subjects with people of really different backgrounds, including conversations around Israel, Palestine, Roe v. Wade being overturned, things that generally bring up a lot of emotion for people. So here are my 4 foolproof steps that I take when I'm entering a really difficult conversation around politics, social issues, or anything that you're going to get super emotional and excited about. Okay, number 1, when someone's talking, I listen, and I show them that I'm listening by doing a lot of question follow-up, digging into what they're presenting, asking them to confirm something, tell me a little bit more about that. Then 2, I repeat back what I heard in my own words, not verbatim what they said, and I ask, did I get that right? This is called looping for understanding. It's really the only way that they're going to feel heard and start to bring down some of the walls and armor that they kind of came into the arena with. Number 3 is where you pivot to actually sharing your thoughts and opinions. And so after you've kind of heard them out, understood them deeply, repeated back, confirmed it, you're going to go, here's what that brings up for me. And you can share stories or things that you're thinking about. And you're going to close with number 4, which is about that I feel, and name some emotions. This really helps ground the conversation. I have a 6-hour car ride with my libertarian brother on Thursday, and he said that he was really concerned that I was starting to like democratic socialism. So I am bracing for impact. But instead of getting all caught up in the facts of what democratic socialism isn't, I'm just going to ask him a lot of questions about why that brings up fear for him, what he thinks it is. And then I'm going to talk about my values about caring for healthcare, housing, and making things affordable and good jobs.
Would you vote for someone that's been held legally responsible for sexual abuse?
That wasn't.
Real talk. This is actual mature communication, and most people are completely incapable of it. She's breaking down listening, confirming understanding, sharing perspective without being condescending. Revolutionary stuff, apparently. But here's the problem. How many people in these political cults have the emotional intelligence for this level of conversation? They've been trained to see every disagreement as warfare, every different opinion as a personal attack on their core identity. You can't loop for understanding when you think the person across from you is literally trying to destroy civilization. The movement turned political disagreement into existential combat. So now you got grown adults who can't sit through a family meal without making it about ideology and winning arguments. Meanwhile, this woman's about to spend 6 hours genuinely trying to connect with someone she disagrees with. That's the difference between wanting relationship and wanting to be right.
A fair conviction at all.
What was unfair about it?
It was completely inaccurate. The area where They held it in Manhattan. There's very few Trump supporters there. He wasn't found liable by a jury of his peers.
It was a jury of his peers. There were 9 jurors, 7 men and 2 women. The lawyers actually select the jury.
Yeah, so
did Trump hire bad lawyers?
No, if there's not very many good ones to pick from, what are they going to do?
So you think all the jurors in selection are bad?
I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, but is that what you believe?
I didn't say that.
But is that what you believe?
I didn't say that. I'm done with you. I think that you're trying to push an agenda, which I don't agree with.
What agenda do you think that is?
The other side.
So something that you disagree with?
The other side.
So do you not want to interact with people you disagree with?
Because it's a losing game.
A losing game if you interact with people who disagree with you?
Now that a lot of former Trump supporters have come out into mainstream media outlets to explain the mentality and community of MAGA, it becomes very clear that a lot of people who support Trump today still support Trump only because they are worried about who is going to disown and disconnect from them if they come out against Trump. I read quite a few books on cults. It's something I find very interesting, and the whole concept of disconnection is incredibly uncomfortable, upsetting, and disturbing. It is unbelievably common when you get to that level of fanatic religious belief. We're well past deciding that MAGA is a cult. It's been a cult for years. At this point, it's really safe to assume that your average Trump supporter not only mostly associates with other Trump supporters on a personal level, but also knows or has liberal friends and relatives that probably don't talk to them so much anymore. Consolation of having liberal friends and family that don't want to talk to you anymore is, oh, you've still got your Trump supporting friends and family. For a lot of those people, even though they're looking at what Trump and his administration are doing right now and they do not agree with it and they're not comfortable with it, they understand that coming out against it might result in those Trump supporting family.
This is genuinely the most heartbreaking part of the entire situation, because you're watching people realize they're trapped in a prison they built themselves. They sacrificed real relationships, burned bridges with family and old friends who actually knew them before politics consumed everything, all to be part of the movement. And now they can't leave even when they see the problems, even when they disagree, even when they want out, because the cult is all they have left. Think about how devastating that is. You gave up everyone who genuinely cared about you as a person, and now you're stuck defending positions you don't even believe anymore, because admitting you were wrong means losing your entire community and support system. These people aren't in the movement anymore. The movement is them, their identity, their friendships, their purpose. And the leaders they sacrificed everything for don't know their names, don't care about their struggles, would never help them if they were struggling, but they'll keep defending it all because facing the alternative, that they isolated themselves for absolutely nothing, is too painful to confront. That's not conviction. That's a sunk cost fallacy wrapped in flags and ideology.
Members leaving them as well. Humans are social animals and we crave community, connectivity, and understanding more than anything else. I think Elon Musk comes across as such a dystopian psychopath because that is what happens to someone who is deprived of that. When you read the testimony of former Trump supporters, they're all talking about how it's more like a church and it's all about who's in and who's out, and if you're not with them, you're against them, and if you're not on the side of the righteous MAGA crusade, you're the enemy. I pity these people because they made their choice, but I understand that they're scared. A lot of these very lonely people have given up their connections to children, to brothers and sisters, to friends and to neighbors in order to be part of the MAGA clique, in order to be part of the MAGA family. Backing out now would mean losing the only community that they've got left. It's another thing that Donald Trump has swindled them out of. It's my opinion. Follow for more.